8:15, we'll call the meeting to order. Mr. Kaminsky.
Present.
Mr. Kunkel is online. Mr. Thomas.
Here.
Mr. Sager.
Here.
Mr. Scala.
Present.
Mr. Van Bergen.
Here.
And I'm here. And do I have a motion? Mr. Kunkel is online. Do I have a motion to?
Allow.
Mr. Kaminsky moves. Mr. Thomas seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hey, Matt.
Thank you.
Okay, I was hoping you were there.
He was in the waiting room.
Okay. Do I have a motion to minute approval from October 1st? Ms. Van Bergen, Mr. Kaminsky seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment. Do we have any public comment this morning?
No, doesn't look like it.
Okay. Member comments? Okay. Routine consent agenda. What numbers would anyone like to pull? Mike?
And you can take them all in one thing. I just,
Okay.
5, 4, 5, 5, 5, 7, and 5, 9.
All right. Anyone else?
511.
511. Anybody else? Oh, I'm surprised somebody didn't pull another one. Okay.
Well, you can.
No, I'm not going to pull it. I just thought somebody would. Okay, do I have a motion to approve everything else? Nobody wants to approve it? Mr. Sager?
Move to approve all items with the exception of 5.4, 5.5, 5.7, 5.9, 5.11.
The second, Mr. Kaminsky seconds. Okay, I'll proceed to vote. If there's no further discussion, Ms. Van Bergen?
Yes.
Mr. Scala?
Yes.
Ms. Sager? Mr. Sager? Mr. Thomas?
No.
No. Mr. Kaminsky?
No.
Mr. Kunkel?
No.
Okay. And I'll vote yes. That carries. Okay. And you said 5, 4, 5, 7, and 9 we could take together, Mike?
4, 5, 7, and 9.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the 5, 4, 5, 5, 5, 7, and 5, 9? Ms. Van Bergen moves. Mr. Kaminsky seconds. Okay, Mike?
I want to vote no, so.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right, then we'll proceed to vote. Start, Mr. Scala,
No.
Mr. Sager,
Yes.
Ms. Van Bergen,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
No.
Mr. Kunkel,
No.
Mr. Kaminsky.
No.
Well, yes, that motion, they fail. One, two, three, 4 no's, yep. All right. Motion for 511. Anybody have a motion for 511? Ms. Van Bergen moves. Anybody second?
I'll second.
Mr. Scala seconds. All right.
Just had some questions on the build out for trucks.
Okay. We'll-
We should do that now. So, the 4 resolutions that you did not approve had federal funding in it for subsequent phases. If they are not approved, we will have to pay the money that has been spent back to the federal government.
How much is it? You know?
I don't know.
Somebody give me a quick figure on that while he's talking about the trucks.
It would be in the millions.
Okay. Well, there you go, guys. Let's see what powder you got in your keg now, after that. I need a move to I'll put this other one on, I got a motion on the floor, let's take care of that one first. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, are you guys available to do this work in-house?
We have not done the service body builds. It would take a lot of time for us to learn how to do those. I'm not saying we couldn't do them, but it would definitely take a lot of time away from our 5 mechanics that we have. It depends on what time, when the trucks came in, when we can get the bodies, and then if it's summertime, we're working on plow trucks getting ready. If it's during the winter, it's making sure plow trucks.
Yeah, I'm just curious because typically you're looking at either 10 or 15% profit on this number. I mean, you're looking at almost could potentially 20 grand, 30 grand savings. So, and you got 4 trucks. The first one's gonna be a little difficult, but the next 3 are gonna, it's an assembly line.
Progressively get better.
Plus, you'll teach your guys how to do it, guys or girls. And in the future, this could be something you guys could be doing. I know it's been done in the past, and I think you have capable people to do it. And so my question is, can you do it? At least try it, is my suggestion.
Maybe we look at that in the future, that when we do bringing it forward, that we could look at in-house and look at our capabilities. A lot of it depends on workload too.
Sure.
As Ben just alluded to, and that stuff. So, you know, when we do this, we are getting in the winter season now, so then it gets harder. And then, I mean, this is our busiest season. There's no doubt about it. Just happens winter is time to when the budget comes. And so we will look at that in the future years to see if that's something that we can do.
Okay, I appreciate that, thank you.
Mr. Sager?
With regards to these purchases, there will be some vehicles that will be going offline, and we will disperse of those through the government auction.
Yes,
Is that what we traditionally do?
yes.
Okay, I'm gonna just put this out, and I understand that this is out of left field, and I apologize for that. But we're working strongly with sister cities down in Zacatecas and the state of Zacatecas, Mexico. I think I've explained to some of you all that they have no fire engines right now. The city of Woodstock and others provided them with a fire engine. It was out on call, and they were hit by a cement truck and it was destroyed. And so they have no fire engines now. Right now they're working with pickup trucks, 330-gallon plastic tanks, or whatever, polyethylene, is that what you call those? Tanks in cages, a trash pump, and hoses. We are trying to secure those cages. The sheriff just yesterday indicated that he had access to some cages. I'm wondering if there's any appetite, want to put it out there, is there any appetite for working with the state of Zacatecas and other municipalities who are in collaboration here for a pickup truck at a modest level rather than going to government auction? That's the question. They can do anything down there with repairs and that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter how old it is, doesn't matter how good shape it's in, doesn't matter. So I just open it for your thoughts.
Are we,
Mr. Kunkel?
I'm not sure how to put my hand up in this thing.
Just run in the way you are, because I can't see you, you're behind my head.
Okay, not that I don't think Mr. Sager's idea is a great idea, Dr. Sager's idea is a great idea, but my thinking when I looked over these, especially with the Ford trucks without having a couple 100,000 miles on them, we trade out of them very quickly because their value is held so well. I know the sheriff's department is selling a few things through specialty auction instead of the normal auction, right? Because they have some high-end grabs that are going to bring more money. I think that's also an option for the county to sell these better vehicles at a more high-end auction than just the state dumps.
I think that's a good idea too. Anybody else?
I was just gonna say, I don't know what our legal options are for that, because there's a process for selling quote-unquote unused government stuff, and I don't know all the legalities of that.
Well, we've investigated that with other communities. City of Woodstock has done it, and it just simply takes action by the body to make that decision. So it's not really problematic in that regard.
Okay.
The issue is just, is they're willing to trade one for the other, and obviously it's a certain dollar value, no question about that. So is that something that the board might ultimately consider? I'll give you a little bit of details. They have, I've got to get this right, they have 360 square miles that they're covering, and they have 240,000 people, and right now, they have no fire engines at all. They're using these pickup trucks with these tanks, and now it's different down there because they don't have a high-story, construction units or anything like that. But they have 340,000 people without a fire engine.
They probably don't need a plow truck.
No, they don't need a plow truck.
No.
They
Put
could
a bigger
use,
tank on.
yeah,
That's true.
They could use a tank. Yeah, if there was a tank truck out there. But right now, that's for the future. Right now, we're just trying to get coverage with a couple pickup trucks and trash pumps and that. So that's what we're working on. And I'm talking to some other people as well. I just want to put it out there since we're talking about these vehicles right now and see if there'd be an appetite for that. So that's all I'm asking. Is there an appetite? If there is, fine. If there's not,
I think for maybe the future here, but not in this transaction, my thoughts.
well, it's not associated with this transaction. So you're right.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, so now, did we go on your motion?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
All right. My mind's going on this other zone. All right, I'm going to proceed to vote. Mr. Kaminsky,
Yeah.
Mr. Kunkel,
I would like some more time and clarification on this, just like with the other thing. I wasn't knowing to put those, I was just trying to delay them and not there to make the motion to delay them.
wait a minute,
I know that-
we're on the truck? Are you on the truck?
Yeah, I'm on the upfitting of the pickup trucks, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
calling,
and
we're
I'm-
voting right now.
Right.
You think about,
So I'm
I'll come
in
back
vote-
to you, Mr. Thomas,
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Sager.
Yes.
Mr. Scala,
Yes.
Ms. Van Bergen.
Yes.
Okay, now you get time to think.
Yeah, the time to think is based on, this motion is just on picking up the trucks and upfitting. It is not on dispersing the other trucks, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
So yes.
Okay, motion carries. All right, now, in light of what just came back on these millions of dollars, I would entertain a motion to reconsider this. Has to be from the prevailing side, all those no votes. And I'm gonna say this before we go any further on this, if no one wants to make that motion. Several of you on that side are no votes on the look back and the levy increase too. Tell me where you're gonna get your millions of dollars to pay this back, okay? I don't wanna know that, so beforehand, or if you choose not to reconsider this. Not twisting your arm, but let's see what you got.
It feels like an arm twist.
That is a hard twist, okay? Millions of dollars, so you can stand on your principle, or come back, but you're all no votes on the levy increase and the look back. So if you're going to do this, tell me where those millions of dollars are gonna come from, because we don't have it.
Well,
Did someone
procedurally,
figure out how
routine.
many millions it is? Did you get a chance to do
We don't
that?
have that yet, we're working on it.
Is the money already spent?
A lot of this is already money spent, that's why you have to pay it back.
That's why you gotta pay it back.
Some of these are subsequent phases, so when you do a project, if you've already done the phase one and we get 80% federal funding, and you decide not to do the next phase, you gotta pay that original grant back then, if you're not gonna move it forward.
So Jim, you understand mine's on the principle of the whole township bridge thing.
I absolutely
But
understand yours.
I will make a motion to reconsider outside of the realm of why I have issues with it.
Second.
And let's clarify, we are not adding new projects to the bridge program at this point.
Not
Correct.
township,
No,
but,
right.
yeah.
We are not adding new projects.
No.
We cut that off until we figure out what we're gonna do with the township bridge books. We're not adding any new ones, these are just continuing
I
ones.
understand, yes.
And I'm jumping in because procedurally, I didn't know that I could make a motion to delay this not being present. The mine is not to stop it, but I wanted to delay it till I was present.
Until when?
After the budget.
All right, well, you have a motion now.
That-
All right, I have a moment, and a second. You're okay with this, Mr. State's Attorney?
Procedurally, it's correct.
Procedurally, we're correct. Okay, we have a motion to reconsider on the floor. I'll proceed to,
Well,
you want to talk about it first?
no, you gotta take a vote on the reconsider
That's
before
what
you do anything
I'm,
else.
that's what I'm doing.
So,
So I'm going to proceed for that. Mr. Kaminsky,
This is just
move
so
to
we can
reconsider.
talk about it,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Mr. Kunkel?
Yes?
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Scala?
yes,
Mr. Sager?
Yes.
Ms. Van Bergen?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Okay, so now let's move to reconsider. Do I need a new motion or can I go back to the old reconsider?
No, you don't need a motion.
Okay, so I'll open up the discussion now.
I would like to know if this is time sensitive, that it could not be delayed to our next transportation meeting.
Allendale? Probably. Allendale.
Allendale, likely not. That one is set up for a letting in November
Yes.
with the Illinois Department of Transportation.
So Allendale is which one?
Number 5.
Five, what?
5-5.
And there's two issues, right? There's the project schedule, and that's what Sammy and Daryl are addressing. But then there's also the budgetary issue.
Right.
These are all coming out of FY
25.
'25, where we have dollars available.
Good point.
These are not in the FY '26 budget. Right. So we would need to basically add this money to the FY '26 budget if this is delayed a meeting, because then this money would come out of FY '26. So you're basically increasing the size of the FY '26 budget if you delay this project, these projects.
Matt, could you hear that? I wanted you to hear that.
Yeah, and again, as I stated, mine was only to delay this till I unfortunately couldn't be there personally. So that's my only motion for no. I want to delay this to the next transportation. But if it is time sensitive, then that's a horse of a different color.
Okay?
so are you telling me you didn't encumber these?
These have not been encumbered.
Okay,
This meeting in county board is what would encumber these funds.
right, but you, similar to Randall, you encumbered for the project, you're telling me you didn't encumber for the project.
You have to pass these first, and then we encumber it for the
Right.
subsequent.
The appropriation components of these resolutions is what encumbers the funds. They are budgeted for in FY '25, but
Right.
aren't encumbered until a resolution is passed.
But, okay, so just so that I'm clear, in the three phases of a bridge program,
Yes.
are you encumbering each phase?
We do one phase at a time.
Okay, that's what I was trying to understand, because, okay, that helps me out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else here? Okay. Let's proceed to a vote.
And that's taken the 5-4, 5-5, 5-7,
And
and
9.
And
nine.
Yes, sir.
Because we're back to the original motion,
Correct.
that's what it was. So, any other discussion before we go? All right, guys and gal. Okay. Mr. Scala. I'm starting with you. Come on, buddy. Put you on the spot.
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
No.
Mr. Kunkel.
I'm still at a no.
Mr. Kaminsky,
Yes.
Ms. Van Bergen,
Yes.
Mr. Sager,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes, motion carries. Thank you very much for the reconsidering that. And I apologize if you think I was too rough on that, but you know what? We got tough times ahead of us here in the next month for a budget procedure. And we can't get into these kind of things. Okay. We're down to presentations. Metro budget fiscal '26.
Ken, you want to give an introduction or anything, or are you just looking pretty over there?
I'm here to be pretty. John Morris is our head financial officer. He's really been put through a task this year in preparing two budgets, and we're really down to the wire on where we're at, and constantly changing things and trying to, like you guys, put together a budget that's going to work, because we're in deep financial bad situation as well. The fiscal cliff that people are talking about for several years is real. It's not anything that anybody's been trying to fake. We have done well with conserving our COVID money, and that's what's kept us going as long as we have. And we'll be able to probably make it almost through 2026, especially with a little bit more belt tightening, which we're ready to do. But 2027 and 2028 will be a total disaster. And the other agencies are going to face the same thing. The CTA was probably the biggest one, and I have feelings about this situation, but I'm not going to share those. It probably would be appropriate at this meeting. So with that being said, I will let Mr. Morris make the presentation, and I'm here to help him with any questions you might have.
Absolutely. Thank you, Director Gale. Henry County Board members and members of the audience, good morning. Pleased to be here. Before I start, wish happy birthday to Pete.
Thank you. Thank you.
56, good year, enjoy it. They come fast after that. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the operating budget as we released it for public comment. So there will be changes when we, most likely, I'll say, when we come up with our final budget based on input from public commentary and from legislatures, etc. So this is what we put out there. This isn't locked. It's got to be approved by the board at the next Metro meeting, which will be then presented to the RTA, and it will incorporate and approve all of the regional budgets. So we'll start, and we've got a pretty big budget, 1.107 billion, all right, which is essentially lining up mostly with the rate of inflation. We'll probably we'll have 1.052 billion, which is directly the Metro budget. The rest of that, the gap between that, is because we are doing work for the Northern Indiana Commuter Transit District, or the South Shore Line, if you're old school. And that is on top of that, but it's a pass-through. So we get revenue for it, we also have the expense for it, but it doesn't really affect our financial position. So we have reduced this budgeted amount by about $18 million, right? And we're working on that through operation efficiencies, and also looking at trying to reduce our inflation assumption, which is a big driver, as well as factor in contractual increases for things like healthcare and our labor agreements. So we've worked to balance that to keep the growth of that budget as low as we can. We're also looking to increase our system-generated revenue, as well as utilize regional public funding, which is essentially sales taxes. And also very important for 2026 is our COVID reserve funds that we have. And as Director Taylor said, we're looking to exhaust those pretty much by the end of 2026. Our system-generated revenue is going to be $325 million, and that's basically taking into account a 13% fare increase. As you may be aware, the RTA directed all of the service boards to increase fares by a minimum of 10%. Now, ours is a little bit higher because in order to facilitate cash collection on the trains, we have to round everything to the nearest quarter. So when you do that, it pushes it up a little bit. We're going to be getting about $208 million in passenger fare revenue, and that's based on yearly $40 million in rides. The rest of the income will essentially be for the construction costs for NICD, which is about $55 million, and then we get $62 million in other income, and that's things from trackage, when we rent trackage to the freight railroads that operate on our tracks, advertising, and interest on our COVID reserves and other operating money. The main driver for our budget, though, is sales taxes. We're looking to include about $636 million in regional sales taxes. That is higher than what was projected when we put together our budget last year, but it is lower than it could be. You may have heard of the RTA diverting money to the CTA, and in the previous current year devoting some money toward the paratransit. But I want to clarify that the way they do that is there's money that we are statutorily through the RTA Act required to receive. They did not touch any of that money. There is a 15% basically off the top that goes to the RTA that they have as their money that they distributed out. So what they did was, instead of distributing out as they usually do to the service agencies, they utilized their discretion to funnel it all to the CTA in 2026. Their plan for 2027 and 2028 is to go back to their normal method of distribution. Finally, to cover the whole, we have about $206 million of COVID reserve funds that we use to bridge the gap. So our overall philosophy for 2026, given the fare increase and that we have increased COVID reserve funds compared to what we had in the budget last year, we're looking to go through the year without any service reductions. And you hear service reductions being put forward. You're looking not to do that in 2026. When you look at where the money comes from, you can see that the main driver for us is the regional public funding, AKA sales taxes. That is our major revenue source. COVID reserves is essentially our other revenue source, and again, that will go away by 2027. Now, this is an eye chart, and we can get a hard copy. You can look at this later, so I'm not going to read this eye chart. I've been here before, and I don't want to be run out of here. So I'll cover some of the key things we want to talk about. Our revenue increase over the previous year is going to be driven by the fare increase. Again, we were requested to do this by the RTA, and we comply with that. Our operation expense increase, which is, and I'm getting older, so I have to take my glasses off. Our operating expense increase in total is up about $40 million, but part of that is for the NICD program. So for commuter operations, it's up $50 million, and that's 4.7% increase. And the major driver for that is going to be inflation. Rate of inflation and labor agreement changes, as you probably are aware, we're renegotiating labor agreements, we periodically do that. In addition, healthcare costs have gone up substantially. Our funding, we're going to expect to get ideally $68 million from the Illinois General Assembly to increase sales taxes. And this is the funded scenario that if they deliver, we would be able to do everything that we want to do. And we're going to then utilize part of it for what we call fare box capital. This in the plan is to transfer $60 million, which is needed for supporting our capital programs, particularly working on bridges. I heard you mention bridges in the prior area. We have similar issues with bridges. However, that is contrary to the RTA budget call, and it's likely that will be altered. Again, the final presentation will include the commentary that we receive both from the public and from the RTA and legislature, so we will incorporate that. People have asked, I heard you had a $220 million hole last year, $221 million, and now you're saying you just need $68 million for your fully funded scenario. What happened? And I'll give you just a high level vision. We had a good 2025. And what we did was we received basically $110 million in improvement into our COVID reserve fund. So we originally thought we would go into this year with $93 million, which would last us about half a year. Now we're going in with $206 million. And where did that come from? Two main things. We improved our sales taxes receipts. You've heard that. They changed the internet sales taxes when we put together the budget. We were not informed of the extent that that would improve the sales taxes. And when we do our budget, we do not project the sales taxes. We receive the projection from the RTA, and we only use RTA numbers. So this wasn't included in RTA numbers. In addition to that, we have been favorable on our operating expenses. The point that I'd like to point out about Metro as an organization, and you may have heard that the federal government, use it or lose it. If you don't spend this, your budget's going to be reduced by that amount the next year. We do not do that. So the operating entities, administrative entities are encouraged to only spend what they need to spend to accomplish their mission in a given year. And if they have budget left over, that's fine. They'll be reevaluated the next year for what's the appropriate budget. So it is not encourage people to waste the money. So throughout the year, we did about $50 million in improved operating expenses. So that brings $110 million forward. We're looking at $30 million better sales taxes and about $15 million better fares. So that gets us to close that gap, right? Hopefully that resolves the mystery about how the fiscal cliff for us shrank in 2026. We'll talk about the capital program. Capital program we're putting in place is similar to previous years. It's going to be about $575 million. I'm not going to read into everything in here in terms of funding, because these are very similar to the funding that we get every year from primarily federal funding and from the state PAYGO funding, which we supplement with sources from grants from the federal government, and they total about $573 million. We're going to spend the money on 122 projects, and Director Kaler said, do not read all 122 projects. I get run out of here. So I'll talk about it at a high level. The rolling stock, which is our biggest thing, $268 million. Be aware, we are running train cars from 1955 on some of the lines. They are constantly being refurbished, but it costs a lot of money to keep them into working conditions, safe and acceptable to passengers. So we're going to purchase new rail cars from Alstom, and they're expected to come in, I think, 2027 right now, is what we're hoping to get for those. And they're eye-poppingly expensive, as you can imagine. We're also going to use some money from the CMAQ grant, which I think is the Volkswagen emission settlement money, and we're gonna buy some Statler battery-powered cars and power units for that. In addition, we're going to spend $68 million on bridges, track, and structure, $59 million on signal, electrical, and communications, $273 million on facilities and equipment, $60 million on stations and parking, and $92 million on support activities, primarily project management. When you're spending $500 million on capital projects, you need professional project management to get the projects done on time. Overall, for the 5-year capital program, we're looking to spend $2.3 billion. And most of that is going to be focused on new rail cars, station modernization and ADA compliance, zero emission train sets, rehabbing the Nippon Sharyu Highliner cars, rehabbing some of the Amarillo cars, fixing Van Buren Station on Metro Electric, program management, as well as the normal ties, ballasts, and switch heaters for our lines. These are our main sources from our capital funding. As you can see, the bulk of it comes from the federal formula funding, plus additional federal funding, which is essentially grants that we receive, and then state and local capital funding, which is principally PAYGO funding, which is from the motor fuel tax. The last piece, probably the most fun piece I want to talk about, is our fare plan. As you probably, I mentioned before, we're looking to raise fares about 13%. And that is essentially, as you can see with this group, I think this would be, you're in the 1 to 4 fare zone. So the one-way fare would be moving up to from $6.75 to $7.75. And the monthly ticket would be moving from $135 to $155. I don't have it on the chart, but I think you will see, if you look at an old fare chart from before the pandemic, you're gonna see these prices are smokingly less expensive, despite the fact that we've had considerable inflation since then. So we feel that the board has given us direction that they would like to have more fare increases if it means we have less service reductions. That is important to maintain service for the riders. Now I'd like to open up to questions.
Okay, Brian?
Thank you so much. Appreciate the reports. Just a few questions I have, and I'm going to get a little bit pushy, I guess, with regards to McHenry County. And just for openness, I'm a member of the RTA board on behalf of McHenry County. And I appreciate your explanations, and I appreciate the explanation that you gave relative to the RTA taking its portion of funds from Metro and others and distributing that to CTA over the last fiscal year, last few months. That was a big discussion at the RTA board. I spoke against that, frankly, on behalf of our county. I spoke pretty loudly against that. Ultimately, though, the vote, and I will say I did vote for it ultimately, because I wanted to make sure that McHenry County was in good stead with the entirety of RTA and the service agencies. I was kind of the lone holder right there, so I decided it would be best for our capacity to work within the board structure to go ahead and to vote in favor of something that I thought was a real challenge for us in that fiscal year. However, that vote is done, but thank you for your explanation of that. The other thing I'm concerned about is that you've talked about, $500 million on capital projects, and you identified priority projects and local match. Didn't want to get into the weeds, and I appreciate that very much, but one of our projects, which is a major priority for us, is going to be the rail yard, northwest of the city of Woodstock. That project has been out there for a good 20 years in terms of discussion. This body had provided level of support, as have other agencies, entities from federal government, et cetera. Where is that project?
So I can give a little bit of an update. We're at about 30% design on it right now. We're looking to complete NEPA next year, like June-ish of next year. We actually have an internal meeting tomorrow with some high-level staff, so we plan on coming back to the county with an update by the end of the year on where exactly it's at and some next steps that we can take going into 2026.
Thank you so much.
To further that, Brian, and the entire board here, we as a Metro Board of Directors have been really interested in this project. The issue really is ultimately the funding. We see this as being a $90 to $120 million project, and it's one of those things that is very difficult to fit that into our budget. Maybe it's not going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. However, if the Bears move out to Arlington Heights, which I believe is going to happen, the capacity of our trains is such that we need more storage for trains in the future. We are the one line in our entire system that actually seems to be growing, and we are at capacity. We cannot put another rail car onto our system because we just don't have a place to park them and maintain them and all that. So the Woodstock Yard is extremely important, not so much even for McHenry County as it is for the rest of the system. And that's realized. So, to answer your question, this is something that we're going to be constantly looking at, and if there's grants that come up that we can, be able to get the grants, then that's one of the projects that we would go after. The two, that is a big one. The other one is our bridge program. And I want to speak a little bit to that because, Brian, as you know, the RTA asked us to move that $60 million out of where we were going to put it, eventually into capital for matching funds. We've got a program that no other agency, I believe, in the United States has as far as our bridge program goes. We're looking out 2 decades, and we're looking at 5-year segments in those 2 decades. We're looking at rebuilding or reconstructing 10 bridges a year in this program. It's very aggressive. And you say, well, why are you doing it? Well, you guys talked about bridges today. These are minor bridges compared to the type of bridges that we have to deal with. And we own over 450 bridges that we own. And many of those, over 200 or over 100 to 125 years old. They don't last forever. And safety is paramount with our agency. And as I was one of the people that put this program together, because I said, we can't talk about next year or 5 years. We've got to have a bigger vision, a bigger plan. So we've instituted that. And John Morris and his staff have found funding through the federal government that is out there for agencies that have money for matches. And that's where this whole thing comes in. You're very familiar with the local match and what you need for the projects you do. These bridges are the same way. But we can get federal funding at very, very low interest rates, number one. Number two, the type of program this is, we can go through the whole build-out and not have to pay anything back until the bridges are actually completed construction, and then I believe it's 5 years after construction. So we're putting we have the ability of putting this out there a long way, but using today's dollars to construct these things. So we've got a great plan. Obviously, in the state of Illinois, they're just finally realizing that, hey, transit needs to be supported. It's public transportation. And what part of public transportation do they not understand? You can only charge so much for ticket revenue. Sales tax revenue is our big provider. It's getting better. But ultimately, other things that are capital projects, that doesn't come from that. That's operational. So we've got to look at the bigger picture, which we are constantly, and bridges is only one major capital item that we have to keep the rail system going. So you may ask, why do you have so many bridges? So any of you that are familiar with Chicago, if you lived in Chicago, you understand that back 100 years ago, they decided to keep everything elevated going over most of your areas where there's a conflict with the street rather than having a signalized intersection, which makes a lot of sense, but those bridges get old and they need to be either repaired or replaced. So that's why we have so many bridges, and we just have to maintain them. So if you've got questions about that program, I'd be glad to try to answer them, but that's kind of a high-level overview of a 20-year plan.
Nick, I have incredible respect and appreciation for your work on the Metro Board and Metro's strong efforts to look at the large picture, and I truly, truly appreciate that. As you are well aware, in fact, there was just a transit bill that was passed, I believe, late last night. Scott, correct me if I'm wrong. But it was, we're going to be talking about that a little bit. But there is an ongoing discussion about distribution of funds, and McHenry County as a whole, other than the large area of utility, I'm going to say, improvements such as the rolling stock and the infrastructure and that from the big picture, I understand those priorities, but McHenry County doesn't always see that. McHenry County is looking for one major project, one. Out of all of these projects, and this is a project that we've been working on for over 20 years, as you well know, and I understand that all these other things are hugely important, but to say it's going to take now another 10 years before we get to this project is just, in my humble opinion, unacceptable for McHenry County.
I would agree with what you're saying. It's money.
Metra is the only real service that we have in McHenry County from the Regional Transportation Authority, service agencies, Metra. We have a very small PACE presence, and that's what we expect. That's what we want. That's what we need. It's been identified as a priority. We've been able to generate money for matches. We have also been able to work in Washington to get funds for this. We have received some funds for that. Metra needs to improve and increase the priority for this project for the residents of McHenry County.
It is a priority. It wouldn't be in the system the way we have it right now if it wasn't a priority grant. This has been out there, like was said, we're going through the NEPA process. I think that takes way too long. But once we get through NEPA, then we can go out and search for the funding that we need for the project. I'm just saying, based on what's out there from federal funding, it's probably going to take longer than you and I would like to see it. I was there from day one when we started this project, Brian. And I fought for it, and every time I have an opportunity to put my 2 cents in with the staff that's specifically on this project, I'm on top of them. But the bottom line is it's money, and if we had the money, we'd be building it today, because we need it. There's no question about that.
Thank you. And
I don't-
can I do that in the word?
Yeah,
Appreciating the
think-
priorities. I want to say, the NEPA, I thought, I mean, the conversation was that the NEPA report should all be done by this fall, and now, and we thought it was going to be done last year, and now this fall, and now we hope it'll be by next spring. I mean, this is kind of a thorn in my rear end, and I trust it is for everybody else as well. There's nothing we can do about that. But in the interim, I think we need to start finding how we're going to make this happen. So that's just my point.
Yeah, and they are looking, we're constantly looking for grants. And if we can find one, we would probably move forward with it. But the big, we can't pull another 100 million out of the air. It's impossible. I mean, it literally is, but it's in our plan. So,
In the 10-year plan.
We'll get it done.
Yeah, I was gonna mention also, the state frequently puts through a bonding program for building capital projects, so that's a potential, but we don't have a new program right now.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Mr. Scala?
So, is Metro actually still accepting cash on trains?
Yes.
Why?
Well, we are trying to get away from it.
We're trying to get away from it.
We're trying to get away from it. We're trying to do it where the conductors can actually use their cell phones to collect money, and we're looking at all of these things, but right now, we have people that, for some reason, that don't use the ticket machine, and we have to have a transaction form. We have to
There's
have money.
some Title VI requirements that impact this. But yeah, it is a decreasing part of our revenue. It's probably less than 10% is between tickets, the TVMs and cash on trains.
I travel quite a bit and I try and use public transit and not many accept cash anymore. I mean, they're a cashless system and some of them even have QWERTY codes at the station that you can, go up to and then it takes you right to their buy a ticket type thing,
We have people out in the field right now looking at all the different stuff that you're talking about. We thought we were modernizing with the ticket machines that we had, and some of them, are worth having ticket machines. We're finding out that it's costing us more to have the ticket machine service than the amount of tickets that we're collecting. So we're probably going to go away from, ultimately ticket machines, except for the very busy locations where.
Were those GFI machines?
Pardon me?
Were those GFI machines?
I don't know.
Do you know?
I don't think they're I can't remember what the
Ventec?
that doesn't sound. Yeah, Ventec sounds correct.
Yeah, they will provide a jar of Vaseline for all their servicing that they do, so.
We're disappointed. And then on top of that, now we've got the vandalism.
Well, I think you guys you can't, again, nothing personal, but you gotta think in the future and get there now versus slowly.
I literally had the same conversation with the people that are involved with this after our board meeting about a month ago. And, the conversation was, yes, we're studying this. In fact, we're going to such and such a place to look what they have that's, continuing to work.
Okay.
I think we're better at collections, but we know there's a lot of fare evasion, and that's what I'm concerned about. And we're trying to identify exactly how much in real dollars it is. And again, that's an ongoing thing. But I think in my opinion, I think it's a big number. So we've got that plus what you're talking about, the ease of collecting.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's in the works.
You will probably see at some point there won't be cash collected on the trains, but the key question is the adoption. Universal adoption for every person to have a cell phone, to be able to say you have to use a mobile app. You got the unfortunate, well, I don't want to say unfortunate, I would say that consideration is enabling anyone to be able to ride on the train versus you have to have a smartphone application. And that's a consideration that we have to take into account. So as technology adoption and things evolve, then I would say the way that trends are going, cash on the train is going to be out. And you're going to say not fast enough. And there are many that agree with me on that.
Okay. Next, your passenger revenue number, how does that compare to benchmark transit agencies?
Our fares are probably a bit lower than the peer agencies. As you realize, we have not raised fares since 2018 and in fact substantially reduced them to spur more ridership. So when we compare our fare increases with the rate of inflation, they don't keep up with the rate of inflation since 2018 for sure, and we're barely keeping up with since the new fare system came out. So I don't have a slide on that in this deck, but when I have seen the slides that the increases that we're putting out are not as robust as some of the other agencies.
And when you look at it as a total revenue percentage, you had a slide up there that said what revenue percentage your fare was. How does that as a percentage of revenue stream, how does that compare?
Okay, you were talking about this slide. So we're at, about a fifth, and it's going to depend on agencies. It's a widespread. We are low in the state funding, but we are mostly regionally funded, as you can see. So I'm going to say that our passenger revenue is probably in the higher end because we've been shooting traditionally for a 50% fare box recovery ratio, which is one of the highest in the nation, and only a few of the newer funded systems are exceeding that. And we've been traditionally higher than that. Right now, we're probably down in that says 20%. If you calculated the normal calculation, we're probably in closer to 25% fare box recovery ratio.
So why are you saying there's a discrepancy there? I mean, I'm assuming this is actual data.
No, I'm saying, okay, when you calculate fare box, this is percentage of our fares, all right, is our revenue. But when you calculate the fare box recovery, there's things that you get to take out of the expenses when you calculate the fare box recovery. So it's not the same numbers. It's not a straightforward calculation. So you can pull out like security costs and things like that.
Okay.
So that increases that number.
All right, and then
fare box recovery.
Your other slide showed a 13% increase, 12.8, I believe, in your fare. Right.
So raising fare is 13%.
I guess my challenge to you would be if you're looking, you said you had to round everything to the nearest quarter in order for them to be able to create change easily with just quarters, but wouldn't it be easy, I mean, if you're really gonna stick with cash, wouldn't it be easier just to round everything to the nearest dollar? And then you're not dealing with quarters at all? I mean,
yeah, certainly that is easier, but then that would be more money out of the passenger's pocket if we rounded, like said, hey, your tickets here are gonna be $8, so we're only making it $7.75, so we're trying to balance between getting additional revenue, but also we're sensitive to, we're taking more money out of everyone's pocket.
And if they were to do it electronically, it could be $7.75 still.
No, well, it will be $775 regardless of how you pay for it.
My point is, if it's cash, it's more. If it's electronic, it's less. There's an incentive to be electronically motivated to do things.
Part of that problem is the Title VI stuff, and we've got people that, a lot of people that are indigent and can't afford to have devices. Now, if we have the device on our phone and they have a method of us taking cash off a bank account, debit card or whatever, that's fine.
But you just said your conductors have it.
A lot, but we're dealing with indigent people that we have to accommodate. That's, if we did, unfortunately, you're gonna have that element in public transportation. And we are required by the federal government to be able to accommodate those people. So there's difficulties in what you're talking about. These people are normally gonna be cash if you can get money. You know, many of them are actually entitled to get a lower fare, and if they go out and, you know, get the proper credentialing to do that, and many of them do, but we still have got that problem that they're probably gonna be cash.
But I'll get to probably the cash, collecting cash, as I mentioned, is a small percentage of the revenue stream. So the cash was eliminated totally. The savings, the dollar savings are gonna be relatively small. So we're talking a huge problem. This is a nibble off the cookie to solve that problem. So for 2026, we have looked at all the things that we can do, plus this increase to keep everything together for 2026. Now 2027, where we talked about $220 million fiscal cliff last year for 2026, that's more really the 2027 one, because we will not have any COVID funds pull over into that. Maybe if things happen better, it'll be 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 million, but the whole is 200 to 250 million in 2027. So that's where little nibbles are not gonna solve, fix this. It's a big hole, and some big steps have to be taken to address 2027 and 2028.
So Michael, to address the fares, we have a plan that we don't want to institute, but we have a backup plan that we may raise fares again in fiscal year 2026 as we get to the end of the year, if we see that that funding gap is larger and we will possibly have the opportunity to raise fares again. We don't want to do that. It probably, in reality, is the right thing to do, but we have been very sensitive to getting more people back using the system, and so we've tried to be fair about the fares that we're charging. As John mentioned, the fares that we're proposing right now are not remotely even probably close to what pre-COVID was. And we want to get back to at least pre-COVID pricing. So that's our ultimate goal, but we do not want to lose passengers in the process. One of the other things that he has to deal with that we've made a modification to is in order to increase the amount of students, both high school and college, that could use our system, we're providing them with a 50% fair price. So we've got there's a lot of apples up there in the air that we're trying to work with to get more ridership. But, you know, if you give a half-price ticket, that lowers your revenue when you look at the total picture.
I'll make a couple of points on top of that. The scale of the hole that Metra is looking at in 2027 and beyond, without additional funding from the state, is well over $200 million. Our fair revenue we're getting right now is $200 million. So we would have to double fares or more in order to close that using the revenue. But if we doubled fares, we wouldn't double our revenue, because a lot of people would say, okay, now I'm driving. and you would have more congestion on the road. So we would be chasing, raising the fares more to make up for the loss of riders, which will cause us to lose more riders. So that's why we can't say simply, we'll fix this with a fare increase. It'll just be massive, all right? So we can use a fare increase to help, but it will not close the entire gap. So that's something that we've looked at, and the board has told us, you know, try to use fare increases rather than service reductions, and we were able to implement that in 2026 because the hole was relatively small. But when we get past, when we run out of our COVID reserve, it's a different story. It's a much bigger issue.
You have to remember too, we're running 11 lines, and those lines go into some very, very different areas of the metropolitan and the Collier County, probably the Collier counties. So you have a whole different group of people on each line. Believe me, I've ridden every one of them. I've seen the passenger loads at all the different stations, and it is so diverse, it's unbelievable. But I'll use the Metro Electric as a good example though. When we were getting help from Cook County to help offset the fares, we gave them a lower fare. And they were using Metro a lot more when they maybe had a choice to use the CTA, knowing that our is safer and cleaner transportation. But now that has been removed, and there's no longer that support from Cook County, they're paying a higher fare. And when they started doing that, our ridership went down. And I don't remember, John, you know, what the percentage was, but you know, it's significant. And those are that now is a modernized electric system with nice cars and good on-time performance. But they're not using it like they would because of the price of the ticket. And again, you have to look at the demographics of the areas that you're going into. But we can't, by law, have a different fare on the Metro Electric than we have on the Northwest. It all has to be uniform across the system. So it's a balancing act, and we're trying to do the right thing. We actually, quite frankly, appreciated the RTA saying that you had to raise fares. Now, they've always wanted the systems to raise fares. They've never come up, to my knowledge, with a percentage before. So that just helped us. Now, quite frankly, I would have liked to have them say 20%. It would be realistic. If you looked at what the CTA, they're raising their fare by a quarter. By inflation, where they're at right now, they should be more like from $2, I think, going $2.25. They should be really going to $2.50. But again, they're sensitive to the riders that they have, and it's unfortunately that's part of being a part of these boards. You gotta look at the big system, not just our line. And I'm very sensitive to everything that happens on the Northwest line, but we got to look at them all.
Thank you, Ken and John. Mike, did you have any further questions with regards to the issues and fares?
I found it enough.
All right, thank you. Any other questions anybody has about Metro's report? Carl?
Two things. One, you mentioned about getting the new trains because the old ones are wearing out. If I remember right, you've got an awesome facility down there that rebuilds these trains that look like new.
Yeah, and we do that, but we're running train cars from 1955.
But when they come out of that repair facility, you can't tell what year it is. It's a brand new car.
Carl, it reaches a point in the life of the car itself, and even after it's been rebuilt, that you can no longer rebuild it on the frame that you started with.
Yeah.
It's just aged out based on, you and I might think it's good and why not just fix it? But again, by certain standards, federal standards, you can't do it.
Basically there was no train and they were all new parts and there's your new train coming out.
And every one that we rebuild we saved, well, at least this was going back about 5 years ago, we were saving about $300,000 per car compared to buying a new one. And we were providing jobs, good paying jobs for people within metropolitan.
I'll put a couple of things to just keep in mind on it. As you mentioned, there's certain pieces, so they don't completely, it's not, you completely rebuild the car, every piece in it is new. There are certain pieces, the reason it doesn't cost as much as a new car is because there are certain pieces that aren't, that are still good, all right? Basic frame, for example. Well, after 100 years, some of those will have to be replaced, and you're trying to say, let's get a Bud rail car from 1955 and replace the basic frame. Well, it's not made anymore. So you would have to custom make something like that. And then it becomes more expensive than buying a new modern car. So a lot of these parts from the 1950s, can't get them anymore. So comes a point in time where you have to say, you know, we can't keep rebuilding these, we have to replace them. And we do rebuild, like, as I said, Nippon Sharyus, Amarail cars, we're gonna continue rebuilding them because we're only gonna replace the super 1955 basically cars and maybe some newer than that. But we'll be continually doing the rehab of locomotives and train cars.
Yeah, plus we can't do enough on an annual basis to get us up to where we should be in, you know, for basically for safety, but also for cosmetic reasons as well. We just can't, we don't have the facility to do enough to get all the rebuild that we need.
Oh, okay, guys. And Gail.
Thank you for the opportunity to present and have a wonderful day.
John, thank you so much for your presentation, and Ken,
And,
thank
you know, any questions, please call me. And again, anybody that wants to have a tour downtown to go to the shops and stuff, I'll be happy to do it one-on-one or a couple people, whatever you want to do. I'll accommodate you, once I get my leg back.
Thank you. All right, now, update on the legislation.
I need to make one quick comment. I said a while ago that the House passed a bill. They haven't passed a bill yet. There was a presentation. The body seems to be coalescing on a transit bill that they are hoping to get passed yet in this remaining few hours of session.
Yeah, they added a lot to it.
Yeah.
You'd think they'd have to take.
I think it's like 1,000 pages now of documentation, and there's many things in there. I'm going to let Scott, if Scott will.
I'll tee us up, and then Alicia's gonna.
Get us off, and then we'll go from there. Good, thank you.
Yeah, so when I put this on the agenda over a week ago, we had the expectation we would see this bill Monday morning when I came into the office, and it actually got released either late last night or early this morning.
Chairman Bueller was part of a call on Monday. We were disappointed we didn't have anything to look at yet.
Yeah.
With the other caller chairs.
So I thought I would give Alicia a couple days to sort of digest what was in there, what really she had a couple hours this morning to sort of look at what's in there. And there is a lot. I mean, it's changed substantially since the version we saw back in May that the Senate had put together. This is, for those that are following along at home, it's SB 2111, Senate Bill 2111, House Amendment 2. And with that, Alicia knows a lot more about the specifics in the bill than I do. I can sort of pitch in here and there on questions that might come up, but we wanted to just give the committee just an idea of how this version of the bill, which again, they need to pass by Thursday because veto session ends Thursday. So they've got today and tomorrow to sort of get this through both chambers and signed by the governor. But with that, I'll hand it over to Alicia and kind of give a brief overview on what's in there.
Morning, everyone. So, late last night, the House did file Senate Bill 211, House Amendment 2, just like Scott said. So, pieces that are relevant to you, voting for the NETA board. It is a 12-vote supermajority and 2 out of the 5 subgroups. So again, Chairman Bueller and the other Collier County chairs had on Monday and Monday of last week and this week both reiterated their desires that they wanted it to be at least 15, if not 16, and a 2 and 5 supermajority. But Again, that is not what is in this bill today. Interestingly enough, there are 5 votes on the board for the city of Chicago, 5 for the state, but interestingly enough, the governor gets 3 appointments, and then there's 1 appointed by the Speaker of the House and 1 appointed by the Senate President. Also, there is,
And then 5 scholars.
well, I'm going through the list. Because again, so that's the state level, then you got Cook. Now, Cook has geographic requirements in their bill, and that was on the House side of the legislation, and you didn't really see it on the Senate side, if my memory serves me correctly the last time. So there is a northern Cook requirement, a mid-Cook requirement, a southwest Cook requirement, a southeast Cook requirement, and then a, free appointment for the president of the board. For the Collars, you have 1 in McHenry, 1 in DePage, 1 came from Lake Columbia. So again, just to give you a lay of the land of where you're looking at there. So also of significance to us is McHenry County's appointment would be on the successor board to Metro. Metro would be renamed under this legislation. DuPage and Kane get what would be Pace's successor, and Will and, let's see, it's suburban board, so we would have 1 that, sorry, let me back up here so that makes a bit more sense. The NEDA board representatives, there's 20 of them, and they would have to be on some of the sub-boards as well, because they've been trying in-house to curtail the number of representatives across the board. So again, we get some appointments that are on the RTA, like Member Soccer. We have representatives that are on Metro, like Member Kaler. And we have some Metro and we have some Pace representatives too. So again, some of those representatives are going to be on both the NEDA board and on the sub-boards as well. For us, our representative on the NEDA board would also be on Metro, for what it's worth. DuPage and Kane, and let's see. DuPage and Kane are on the, looking up what I have, and Will are on Pace, and McHenry and Lake are on Metro. Revenue. This is another sticking point that's been a problem for a while. The House folks are trying to figure out how to tax and transit without being as painful for folks who are of low incomes. One of the interesting pieces here is there's going to be a Netflix tax going on here. There's also going to be an increase on sales tax by 0.25% to increase the overall revenues for transit. In addition to that, there's also going to be speed cameras in what are termed safety zones. The legislation doesn't define what a safety zone is. So again, that's more to come on that.
My understanding, safety zones are, and this could change, but schools, churches, parks, things like that, where there's going to be kids crossing the street, those are considered safety zones. But yeah, there's more to follow on that. And importantly, the local level of government that installs these speed cameras would receive half the revenue, and the NEDA, the transit agency board, would receive the other half. So that's how the revenue would be distributed to locals as well. So this would be a boon for those here, maybe in McHenry County, that wanted to do something like that, be a new source of revenue for them that they don't have currently the ability to have today.
They would also have to have a map of all safety zone cameras as well for the public to be aware of. Again, more to come on that, because again, there isn't a definition in the actual legislation of what a safety zone is. So I have a feeling that would have to be spelled out, because there's intent and then there's legislation.
And right now, only the city of Chicago can install speed cameras by state law. So Chicago already has this authority to put them in next to schools and parks. This would be extending that statewide. That's essentially just treating us the same in Chicago.
Another thing that's of interest to you is when Chairman Bureau did write to our legislators, stating the county's position on transit and reiterating it so that they knew and had it at the top of their minds for this upcoming veto session. He did request that there be planning studies on, different expansions of transit service here in McHenry County. There is a provision in this bill that says planning study improvements that are needed on the Joliet train station, and that a planning study of improvements shall be explored for potential extensions of passenger rail services to Peoria and other locations outside counties of Cook, DuPage, Kane, Lake, McHenry, and Will. So again, perhaps there are additional opportunities for expansion for rail to go out to other places and still hit us too. I don't know, but again, more to come on that, still reviewing what exactly is the legislative intent there.
And Alicia didn't talk about this, but the first version of the bill had what was called the climate impact fee, which was that was about $1 billion. It was $1 billion of the $1.5 billion that they had raised under the previous version, the Senate bill. That is no longer part of this, right, Alicia?
I don't see that right now, but again, this bill is 1,036 pages.
That was the $1.50 delivery tax.
On every delivery to your home, yeah.
But that's not in the bill.
That is not in this
Right.
current House Amendment 2 that was released today.
Mike?
So you're telling me that the House took the Senate bill and filed an amendment on the Senate bill, which is 2? Is that what I'm
Yes.
understanding?
Yes. Well, there's a procedural reason for doing that.
No, I get the logistics of it, I'm clarifying, so the Senate hasn't technically seen the language for this amendment that the House put through on their bill. I mean, everything's relative to the politics that go on behind closed doors, but I mean.
That's still on the table. You're right. Senate has not absorbed this yet. I'll just put it that way.
Okay.
There was statement by the representatives Delgado and Campbell during the calls that chairman and the county chairs had with them, that they had been in constant contact with their Senate colleagues. Now, whether or not there's agreement, that's a different issue. But there has at least been discussion between the parties.
You all can correct me if I'm wrong, but there isn't, I think, an appetite to get something done right now. And that's kind of a surprise to me because I thought that they would wait to spring session, but there seems to be a pretty strong appetite. So it could very well be the Senate is going to go ahead and move forward. I wouldn't be surprised, but they're going to have another amendment and it'll come back to the House one more time. But they've got a few hours here to go, but they're working on it. And I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't get something done.
Few hours, you mean midnight tonight or Friday?
Thursday.
And another thing to keep in mind, Member Waltop did inform me that both had waived their committee readings for this legislation.
Right.
So that means that you can vote on it on the same day. So theoretically, they could do transit, vote on it, and pass it all on Thursday in both chambers.
Whether that's a good idea or not, I mean.
Yeah.
One of the things we were also asking for from Chairman Bueller's communication was for PACE to fully fund MC Ride and MC Connect. We've not seen that is there. Not saying it's not. We've not seen that. That would benefit us several $1 million.
Correct. We're hopeful that there'll still be opportunities to amend.
If there's new money, that was one of the things we're asking for.
Would you, Alicia, provide clarification on the votes? And is it in this bill, and I haven't been able to find it, I'm sure you have, but I haven't been able to find it, requires 12 votes to move something forward by NETA. And those 12 votes, does that require then, out of the 20, does that require 2 from each of the 4 units?
Yes.
And that's in this version?
Yes.
Is that correct?
It's
Okay.
12 and 2 and 5.
Yeah, 12 and the 2 out of the 4 units. Perfect. Thank you so much.
And there's no supermajority sort of carve out like the old version.
I didn't see that.
And that's something we're still continuing to dig. I mean,
Right.
I know for the Senate Democrats, that was a must-have, that you needed some way, they called it the Bruce Rauner provision, that if a Republican governor didn't want to fund transit in Northeast Illinois, the local Northeast Illinois could basically outvote the governor and receive funding for themselves, right? And so there was this provision that 15 out of the 20 could outvote the one party that didn't want something. We're still looking to see whether there's anything in this current version similar to that. But we'll have more, I'm sure, by the end of the day today that we can share via email with this group. Did we talk about the billionaires tax yet?
Right, that's the other element.
Yeah, so that's another big part of funding. It's I think $300 million per year on net worth individuals with net worth over $1 billion that reside in Illinois. I don't know the specific language, but it's basically a millionaire's tax, or billionaire's tax that would fund transit as well.
That only affects school here.
So,
There's also taxes on of large venues, so again, it's an amusement tax, so again, those are different.
and that's an interesting provision because basically every large venue, think sporting events, think Opera House down in the Loop, you would have a surcharge to your ticket for those events, but that ticket would then allow you to ride transit free to the event. So it would be basically you're paying for a transit trip whether you take it or not to these large sporting events or large events downtown.
And they're defined as over 10,000.
Yeah,
So
correct.
over 10,000.
That's a big effort.
So- I'm thinking codes, I'm thinking, you know, yeah.
I'm thinking
College
U-Haul.
students are over 10,000.
So that part is the amusement tax?
Right, but
Is
it's
it-
large
what's-
venues of 10,000 seats.
Okay, and only that, because I did see
Well, streaming
live
services
shows,
though are included.
ticketed.
So they're actually,
events.
from my understanding, they're two different things, right?
Yeah.
There's the statewide amusement tax,
Yes,
which
that's
is,
what I'm-
that encompasses also the Netflix, all these other, there's a million definitions of what fits into that. And then this large event surcharge, which is a $5 surcharge on large events, that's a separate line item. So two different things, don't get them conflated.
About $125 million in revenue for that.
Right.
Is expected.
That's every college team then, pretty much. Even some high schools.
And keep in mind, you know,
Clowns.
at least you have glossed over it, but the increase to the RTA sales tax, that's currently how we fund transit today, right? We all pay a sales tax. And that's currently how we fund transit. That increase of 0.25%, that's I think what we did for mental health, right? That was the mental health size of the
It's
sales
just
tax.
for the region, yeah.
That's just for this region,
That's-
correct.
It doesn't get you in Champaign, but it's just 6 counties.
Right, so that, I think the 0.25% will generate, I think, from McHenry County residents, that's about $17 million in sales tax increase that they're gonna experience next year as well. On top of everything else we talked about here.
Or it does the opposite, because you're gonna hit that point where you've raised it so much that you start losing money.
Well, that's actually one of the concerns. That's, you know, in the capital tax this morning, there was discussion that the governor wasn't in support of raising the sales tax. Because again, it would make Chicago one of the highest regions in the nation, you know, as far as sales tax.
That's why I said you're promoting U-Haul.
So as we know more, you'll see information provided by either Elise or myself, we'll get the information down. Things are moving quickly though, obviously.
Obviously. Right?
The only other thing I would say is we owe a great deal of appreciation to the chair, because he's worked very hard. Alicia Scott have been on top of this, as others, Pete and Scott Hartman, but the fact is that the chair has been very, very active working with this, with the Collier County chairs, and I think their voices have been heard, and I think that's a really positive thing. So we want to extend our gratitude to him.
Additionally, Shayla and Council Mayors and Mark Honick have been very, very involved.
Right.
Okay. Thank you for your update.
Can I add a comment?
Go ahead.
The idea of some sort of surcharge tax on ticketing for events is actually, from a Metro standpoint, a good thing. A lot of fare evasion for us happens with the Bear game. You get these trains are packed with people. Our conductors cannot go and collect fares from everybody and know that they paid, because their primary job is to get off the train at every stop, make sure people get off the train and on the train safely. So that's their primary job. We'd love to collect every ticket, but we know big Cub games, we know there's tons of fare evasion, especially coming back when people have consumed a little bit of adult beverages and stuff. But we've done a similar program to this with Ravinia, and it's worked out very well. They collect X amount of money, and anybody that's got a Ravinia ticket on Metro can go ride for free. So they're really not riding for free because we get revenue from each ticket. But I like this idea a lot. If people want to go downtown to any play, opera, whatever, and ride Metro, because you can give them the ticket. If you want to stay down there and we don't have the right time for you, take the Uber back, but at least we get them one way, and we get revenue. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, and Metro's not just doing that with Ravinia today, they're doing it, I think, with Lollapalooza, there was a similar arrangement, there's other events, cultural events downtown that they're already doing this. So this would just be, again, we're building off of successes that Metro's already seeing today.
It's not a bad idea.
I do.
Go ahead.
Question for you. Why is it right to put the failures on not collecting money, doing your job on other folks, when that's actually, you just admitted it, that we can't collect it? Well, that's your problem, not someone else that has nothing to do with transportation having to pay for the failures of it.
We're trying to do anything we can to stop fabricating, believe me. And some of the things that they have done, I personally have not seen these, but for instance, if the train is coming in to Ogilvy, as an example, they set up like a kiosk or funnels with people there, show me your ticket, show me your ticket. You don't have a ticket, you go over there and you gotta pay for it. So that's some things that we have done for knowing that there's big events like the Bears game or whatever. But, yeah, it is on us, the ferry agent, and we're trying in every way we can to figure out how to stop that from happening. More to come, because, again, we're trying to figure out, contacting other agencies, seeing how they do it. When you have an open system like we have, it is a little bit more difficult.
The legislator had a discussion with one of their staffers about doing this, and one of the other things behind this is when you have a big event, if people have already paid for transit in part of the ticket, it encourages to use transit, so it reduces congestion, which that was another factor behind it.
Okay. Carl, did you have something?
Art?
You had your hand up before, but you're done with that? Okay. Scott?
All right.
New
So
business?
we got the staff recognition of a new administrative specialist 2 and a maintenance worker. And we also have 2 new supervisors that are going to be introducing these new workers. So Jenny, if you're going first, please introduce yourself also for the committee to know. And then you can introduce Amanda.
Good morning, I am Jennifer Miliano. I am now the Physical Operations Manager here at the DOT. This is Amanda Martinez. She just started on Monday and we're really happy. Now we're fully staffed in my department, so we're really excited. She recently graduated with honors from McHenry County College with a degree in business management. She has 2 cats, which she found and adopted into her family. And she's really excited to be joining our team. Please welcome me and join me in welcoming her. Thanks for having me here.
Morning. I'm Zach Haig. I'm the vegetation supervisor here at the DOT. I'm here to introduce Billy Kurz. Billy joined the DOT October 20th. He's a 2024 graduate of Seeger High School in West Lebanon, Indiana. Billy comes to us from Warren County Highway Department, where he worked as on maintenance crew as well. He recently moved from Williamsport, Indiana, to live with his girlfriend in Hampshire. In his spare time, Billy enjoys visiting his girlfriend at the University of Illinois while catching a good college football game, fishing, circle track racing, and spending time relaxing with friends and family. So, everyone, this is Billy.
Thank you all.
That was it.
That was it. And if you guys want to leave, feel free, you can all leave.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Old business.
Staff report, Daryl's got an update for us.
Morning, everybody. Daryl Coombs, Assistant County Engineer here. Talking today about Randall Road. We are advancing. We finally got all the utilities coordinated, worked through, out of the way. So now it's just Dunnet Bay and Floaty's efforts to advance the Randall Road construction project. In July, we shut down Miller Road, west leg, to construct a new bridge where we're going to eventually redirect Woods Creek tributary underneath Miller Road. So we're going to move the creek that's on the east side of the road to the west side of the road. First step is to build that bridge. So we shut the road down. We are going to open it back up here. We're aiming for early December. However, with some of the utility delays and other things that happened, that held up a couple other parts for us with moving the creek, we're going to have to reclose the road here in the springtime once we're ready to do that switch. So that'll take about 2 months. But in the meantime, we're going to still advance work on our Miller Road Bridge. We are pounding a lot of timber piles right now. That isn't allowing us to construct the area near Miller Road with all the bad soil. We have a lot of peat, 20 to 40 feet worth of peat. So we're pounding timber piles and creating a gravel and concrete pad above that to redistribute and hold up the new road. Think of it as a little bit of Venice, Italy, right here in Lincoln Hills in Crystal.
That's
So
some really
the
nice looking black dirt though.
It would grow a lot of good plants. That's for sure. So that's going to be our main focus, is getting through the Miller Road opening, get it set up for the winter time. Work will still progress through the winter as weather allows with the timber piles and the low transfer platform as we can. Then we'll shut it back down the west leg again for a couple months in the springtime, finish out that work, and then get into full-on stage 2 work later next year.
Is that it? Anything else?
That is it for staff report.
All right, I'm just gonna bring it up, I'm gonna put it on under old business, not to discuss it today, but I'm gonna put it on the next agenda since was part of our vote today involved. I'm gonna put on the township road or bridge program on the next month's agenda to open up and tear off the Band-Aid and start that discussion. And I know some of the road commissioners have contacted me about coming to our meetings and all that, so, you know, a couple are coming next month, so it's time to put it on the agenda since with some of our votes here today, looks like we have an appetite to discuss it. So, but that'll put it after our budget and we'll kind of know where we're at then. So, we do have a need for executive session for old minutes and land acquisition. Do you have a motion to go out of regular meeting into for minutes approval and land acquisition? Mr. Kaminsky, Mr. Sager, seconds. I got a roll call, I don't have. Mr. Kaminsky? Yes.
Time to run.
Say yes?
Yes.
Mr. Conway, here. Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Sager? Yes. Mr. Scala?
Yes.
Mr. Van Buren?
Yes.
open session.
I
Have
second
we
that.
switched over? We're good. We're good? Okay, Mr. Scala moves.
I'll second it.
Mr. Kaminsky seconds, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do I have a motion on?
Motion to adjourn?
No, you want the minutes.
We need to handle the minutes.
I'll make a motion to move the minutes from
August 27th.
2025
Yes, sir.
to the state's attorney's office for review.
Second.
Mr. Sager seconds, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Now we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Carl?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Moves. Mr. Sager seconds, all those in favor? Aye.
Just so committee members are aware, the next TC meeting on the schedule is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Looks good, you're cooking, right?
Yeah. So please let us know if you're not going to be here or if we need to cancel that meeting.
You asked
Tuesday
for
before
paper
Thanksgiving,
copies
which is the
from-
25th.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
From today, that's measured.
25th.
Typically, we don't have this meeting, these
week
meetings, yeah, because our